Hello, everyone. This is the Day Trip Squad podcast. We are a group of individuals that are on the autism spectrum. Please enjoy our latest episode.
Tune into the Day Trip Squad where the vibe is always right. Live for people linking forever. We're shining a bright light on young adults with autism, sharing stories, having fun. Join us, won't you? The adventure's just begun.
Welcome, everyone, to the third installment of People Incorporated's Day Trip Squad podcast. I am Chad Lawton, your host. Alongside me here, I have Sam Freitas and Nicholas Patella.
Hello. Greetings.
Good evening to you too, gentlemen. The topic of this evening is about anger management and triggers. Now, starting with Nicholas, is there something that used to upset you that no longer does?
If I'm being completely honest, there's a lot of stuff that I'm always upset about. And I'm trying to really think about what really fits that criteria. You know, it has to fit like a certain checklist. One, you would have to be very irritated at it. Like for example, I've seen people that get really mad if another driver cuts off of them. But they usually understand after a while that it's just as it's written, the rules of the road. The rules of the road. Well, when I was younger, I lived on the first floor of a three-floor apartment. And at night, when I was sleeping in my little bed, there was someone upstairs who was doing something at night. It was like loud music, banging on the floor. Like he was like me nowadays. I get excited over every little thing, and he upstairs, or whoever this person was upstairs, was excited at every little thing. And I was getting mad. I was getting mad because he was interrupting my sleep. I had school. I had to go all the way to I believe this was the days when I was going to Talbot or Morton. One of those two middle schools. And one night my mother she wasn't alone. She noticed all that noise, all that banging. And she was like, okay, I've had enough. So sorry, Cecilia, if you're watching this, you're probably watching this. I'm probably going to send you the link. I'm sorry for rudely chopping up your voice. I'm so very sorry. I hope it's fine. But my mother got mad. She contacted the landlord about it. And for the most part, that died down. I don't know what happened to the guy who was doing all that noise, or the girl, or the couple, or whoever it was. But ever since that day, I've not really been that pissed off at people making noise in late night. So Sam, have you had any things that no longer upset you?
Well, the first thing I'd be able to say about that is, back when my brother made poop jokes, it was infinitely more irritating to me up until around early middle school, because I was just the squeaky clean type, for lack of a better term.
Yeah.
If he do that just out of thin air, it took the seriousness out of everything I planned, and I kind of despise him in that moment, and I want to be able to say this very gingerly, because I want to treat all listeners, including my brother, with utmost respect. So, but in the year since my own vulgarity at least internally, has allowed me to tolerate that a little more, but it was this same it was the same thing, for example, that if my brother were to make me watch South Park back then, the one thing that would automatically make me lose my hazelnuts was the "oh my god, they killed Kenny" joke. It's like and I was probably anywhere from around 3rd to possibly 5th grade when this was at its height, and if my brother had to drag me in the room from that, I experienced kind of a mixture of just, I'm trying to find the words for this, but instability and I guess cataclysm. I was when I was thrust in front of a recurring thing that was played in that particular manner that involved death like that, and of course, once again, I was a relatively squeaky clean person, and
and poop was the antithesis of
right.
that.
Well, if that'll be all for the first question, gentlemen. Let's move on to the second. You can pick up that with that, Sam. So the second question is, how do you cope with anger?
Well, knowing myself, and especially at this point in time, I feel like the best way for me to be able to work past a potential bout of anger is to find something productive for me to do that might put that in the back seat. And I find that when I'm productive, my sense of honor is manifested. I feel like if I'm able to take responsibility for myself, at the very least physically, I feel better about it. When I do laundry, for example, it's not just something I do every day to be able to make myself and make my mother feel better about not having to do it later, but also one of those things that might be able to do a good job of helping me get past something or some kind of debate I had with a given person that day. Or sometimes if the subject with which the conflict happened requires a bit of reaching out, then I guess I've learned more and more to be able to reach out to the person that I was involved in the conflict with, such as my stepdad, reach out to him, because whenever I don't, by the time he reaches out to me, he says he feels guilty about it, and reflecting on that, I feel like it's a tougher decision to make, but sometimes I gotta touch that cactus just to be able to know what that pain is, and then try to be able to resolve that from there.
Okay, Nicholas, how do you cope with anger?
Well, historically, I am a person who doesn't cope well with anger. Like, for me, it's sort of like it's like boiling hot water for your tea or your coffee or whatever. So, I usually have something that ticks me off once, and it builds up a little bit of anger. And as the day goes on, it builds up, I get more irritated, I get more mad, and eventually it gets to a point where it shoots straight up and I get a detention slip. No joke, I've had like 3-4 detentions since I believe since middle school. But for me, I actually do want to relate this to an event I had last week, as of the time of recording. It was Monday, and we were at this very place for Dungeons and Dragons, People Incorporated, and my parents were not too proud of me because I wasn't spending enough time on the calculus, like studying the calculus. Before the trip, before I came here, I was being confronted by my father, and he was very mad at me because, why aren't you doing the calculus? Why aren't you doing the calculus? And one of my main ways that I cope with anger, I put my hands on like close to my face, hands on my head, just trying to think things through. And my dad always says to me, Dad, Octavio, you're watching this too, you know this all very well. Don't put your hands on your head. And he's right. Because he tells me every time, like, cope with anger, you get like you just clench your fist a little bit, or you just put your hands in your pockets, or you just straight up confront what's angering you in a peaceful manner. Not in a manner where you go your broom and you get to spend an hour after school for detention. So that's I mainly cope with anger by other than that, I usually like whenever a bad song comes on, bad in quality, of course. I usually like turn off the radio because I don't want that to essentially drive me insane, like it's Kingston. So that's another way I do things. There's the uncomfortable manner, just putting your hands on your heads, that I don't do, and the way I do it, which is healthier, I block it out.
Very well. Moving on, if you'd like to pick up, Nicholas, the next question is, now building off that same idea, what strategies do you use to prevent anger?
Well, to prevent my anger, my madness, I usually stray away from the stuff that may drive me mad, like honeydew, gift cards. No, I don't really deal with that. I usually like to block off all my negative stuff and focus on the stuff I like. So when it comes to radio, if I hear a bad song, I either turn off the station or I tune to another station entirely. So, for example, if I'm going on let's just say hypothetical here, Fun 107, and by the grace of God, for the millionth time in this week, they have Diet Pepsi by not Alessia Cara. The Diet Pepsi by Addison Ray. I say no to that. I usually tune it to another station, Cat Country or 92 Pro FM or 88.3 WQRI, because at least they're gracious enough to not curse us with Diet Pepsi by Addison Ray. So let's just stray away from Diet Pepsi. Let's just stray away from the radio. Another example. There's sometimes I'm driving on the car and someone either doesn't go when the light's green or they cut off lanes. I had to cut off lanes once. It was up in Plymouth Avenue, and I believe this red Dodge like cut 2 lanes just to get to the other side. And I was honking like mad because it was like, dang it, you made me miss the green light. But I didn't get mad. I honked my horn and that's it. I carried my mind on something else. Because when it comes to driving, my dad always says, drive your car or someone else's car. So I just focus again on, let's just get to the destination. Don't worry about that guy. So for me, focusing on the positives instead of the negatives, that helps me manage my anger well. And how about you, Sam?
Well, what I can say for certain is that the past 2 years have been marked by kind of a method of emotional control with which I would be able to compare to when I drive on a highway or come to a stoplight. So the principle that I'm aiming for here is that when you're driving, generally, if you're at the stop sign, even if a car isn't crossing, you stop just in case somebody crosses by. Now, I'm trying to lead into something else. So, because something that sometimes gets on me is if I collide into someone by accident. So really how I manage that these days is I give somebody else the right of way. That is, as a person walking around in the office, I stop at an intersection in a hallway, such as one coming from the left where I may not be able to see them right away, or if I do see somebody just ahead of me, I go out of my way not to try to overtake the situation so that they're the person that's doing it first, and I don't conflict with whatever it is they're doing. It's being able to read their intentions and therefore less reason for me to be mad about not doing what I need to or want to do in that moment. It's ever since I walked away from a game of chess with my brother a few years ago and I felt like hurt about it and felt like I had learned nothing from the past time or two that I do that, I decided to reevaluate instead of trying to measure simply by how it is that I want to be able to do things in the moment. Instead, I go out of my way to make myself available to others so that I give others the right of way, and therefore my own interests don't conflict with what others want of me and what it is that others might want to do that, if I try to do, might inconvenience them. The more I try to stop myself, the easier it is for both myself to stay positive and, in some cases, neutral, and for others to be able to do their daily lives. And that way I don't try to turn nothing into a big mess, put it that way.
Very well. Good answers, gentlemen. Now for the final question, and beginning with you, Sam. How has controlling your anger changed you as a person?
Jumping off the last question, it certainly provided me an easier way to really corral the sheep a little more. When you build a fence around the sheep, you prevent them from escaping. And when I attempt to do that with myself, my priorities, then I'm able to see not just what I want to do, but how that relates to other people around me. The more I'm able to read my context and not just how it is that I want to jump in at the moment, I can adjust to a larger variety of situations. I could want a Peter pocket at a given moment, but I'm not going to be exclusively kept to that because I don't want to face the situation where I'm disappointed that that's not an option or somehow that's not available at the moment. And I feel like doing that with myself when it comes to everyday choices that I make just makes things a lot easier to confront. And they're a lot easier to confront as some of these past few sentences have gone, because I'm taking myself out of the equation. The more I take myself out of that, which would be a bit of rephrasing, the simpler that those decisions become. And because I remove my anger, bam, easy enough.
Well, Sam, I have an expression. My parents and I have an expression that we always use around the house. It's quite simply calm down in a sort of way. It's calm. And to be honest, they're right. Because when I was way younger, I used to get mad at almost everything. The story I shared about that apartment was just the tip of the iceberg. If something doesn't go my way, I usually get mad at it. Another example of this would be for the 2014 World Cup. I was actually mad because the Boys and Girls Club was playing regular show instead of like USA versus Germany. Now I don't get mad at it. I usually go, hey, you mind if you like switch it to the soccer? And I'm like, and if they say no, I'm like, okay, that's fine. Rarely nowadays does it get to the point where it boils over. Like unless it's like very extreme cases, I usually don't get mad, and that's what anger management really does to a person. It allows you, especially as an autistic person like myself or Sam, anger management makes you understand the world as it is. It isn't your world. your name is not Jeff Jarrett. If you don't know who Jeff Jarrett is, he's a professional wrestler, and his theme is called My World. My World. Time to make my mind. Let's not get into wrestling, Dad. If you're watching this, I'm sorry for mentioning wrestling. I know it's fake. You know it's fake, but anger management lets you know that it's not your world. World doesn't revolve around you. It's a community of people who all want certain things, but they also know that they may not get certain things. They may need to share. And quite simply, as I'm growing up, I am understanding more how to share, how to be calm when you're not getting what you want. So the moral of the story here for today is be sure to control your anger. If you're really, really frustrated, get a stress ball. You can go get a stress ball at wherever you find like stress relieving stuff. You can go to Walmart. You can go to Hot Topic. I mean, I got a Kirby stress ball from Hot Topic once. But whenever someone rips off the legs of your Kirby stress ball, don't get mad because you ruined the thing that helps you cope. Just learn to embrace it. Find something new. And that's the moral of the story today. Thank you very much.
And to add to your point, nobody here is a main character. The more we can come to understand that and realize that everyone around us has some sort of part to play, the more that we'll be at peace with ourselves.
Rather insightful. Well, I'll be thanking you, gentlemen, but unfortunately, that is all the time we have for today. Please tune in for future episodes.
Thank you very much.
And have the absolute best night. Thank you.
Tune into the Day Trip Squad where the vibe is always right. Live for people linking forever. We're shining a bright light on young adults with autism, sharing stories, having fun. Join us, won't you? The adventure's just begun.
Thank you for tuning in today. We've created a place to connect with like-minded individuals and stay up to date with the latest BTS news. Our Facebook group regularly features event announcements and cancellations, monthly newsletters and calendars, and plenty of photos from our outings. This is a private group with exclusive content that is not featured on the public Family Support Center page. Come be a part of a vibrant, supportive, and engaging community. Join today.